What's up, everybody? Welcome to this special edition of not only Seahawks Forever, but also the Hawks Eye podcast with Bryce Coutts. We're calling this a weekly segment. We'll do this every Friday during the season and maybe even in the off season as we get into the draft. It'll work perfectly for that. But you've asked for it. You've demanded it. We've given it to you. All 22 film breakdowns every Friday. We're calling it the Hawks Film Lab. Bryce, what do you have to say for yourself? Are you pumped for this?
I'm so pumped to do this, Dan. This is something I've wanted to do for the last 2 years. Really dive into the X's and O's, something that I love doing on a weekly basis for my coaching. And now I get to do it for my favorite team, the Seattle Seahawks. And to do it with you is just an added bonus. So let's get into this, man.
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know or have never watched my show or Bryce's show, he's not just a podcaster, but he is a longtime football coach, offensive coordinator, quarterback coach, runs a quarterback academy in British Columbia. And so, I've leaned on that a number of times, but we haven't been able to do the all 22 stuff as much as we like because of copyright restrictions when it comes to YouTube. And so the way we're going to do this is I'm going to make it available to my paid YouTube members and also my Patreon members, even at the lowest tier, the all everything tier for $10 a month. But this first one, once it's uploaded and I see that there's no copyright strikes and that they just demonetize it, I'm totally cool with that. I will make this first one free to everyone so you can get an idea of what it looks like. And then we can get into, from there, we can get into memberships and so on. So let's get this started. Threw a little something together here. Let's officially kick this thing off right. Whoa, let's hold up. It got started before we did. Took me 2 hours to make that 15-second video, by the way, but thought it turned out okay. All right, so what we're doing today, I guess I should have said this right off the top. We are going to focus on a different specific aspect each week of that game. Could be one player, could be a position group, could be a sequence or a drive. We'll just kind of let the game script and the narrative dictate that. But for this one, looking back at the Kansas City game last week, the story of the game was the performance of the offensive line in that running game, in particular, because it's still not official yet who the three starters are going to be, or at least two of the three, just the interior offensive line. So Gray Zabel, Jalen Sundell, Anthony Bradford played 19 snaps together. We're going to show you 18 of them because we're not going to show you the tush push. Doesn't really, it's kind of irrelevant for our purposes. So we're going to go through these on the all-22 and then just kind of break down what you thought of the performance of the interior offensive line and the success or failure of each play. So right off the bat, first play of the game, we're settling into our seats. 1st and 10 from the Seattle 19. We've been waiting to see if they can run the football. Love seeing this on the first play of the game.
No, 100%. And the thing I really like about this, Dan, is they come out in a run-heavy formation. You see them there. They're in I formation. They got two receivers to one side, a tight end, and they run that orbit motion there. I believe that was with, I want to say, JSN coming in behind there. So you look at it right there. You're in basically an off, what I would call a twins look. So you got two receivers to the left side. You're in I. The thing that's really interesting about this, though, is Cooper Kupp talked about this extensively, which is that block at the top of the screen on the 30. He said if he had made that block, Charbonnet's still running.
Yeah.
But when we look at that interior and you look at the,
it's a beautiful thing.
It is. They clear a lane, and you look, Robbie Oots and Bradford are shoving, and Zabel have moved that entire D-line out of the way. And then who do you see up at the next level there is Jalen Sundell, basically using one chief player to block another. But this is something we didn't see. This is Seattle reestablishing the line of scrimmage. And all this was basically a simple lead play with a bit of an inside zone to it. And we saw that motion later on this, in this drive with the offensive line and with JSN, but he goes and returns back the other way. But this was a 13-yard run on first down. I don't think we saw that much last year, except for maybe that Arizona game in Glendale.
I just can't get off this screen right here. This is just such a beautiful thing. We just weren't used to, especially last year, but really over the last several years, just haven't seen running lanes like this. And there's so many pieces to this story. There's so many layers to this story. And one of the biggest ones over the last couple of weeks is how Anthony Bradford really took advantage of not only what appears to be improvement in his play, but also Christian Haynes being a little nicked up when they were in a competition there at right guard, and really took it and ran with it. For him to get from his right guard spot all the way across to the other hash where he is there right next to Oots and just pushing the pile. You see Zabel walling his guy off there. And as you mentioned, Sundell to the next level just creates this massive opening for Charbonnet to run through. And yeah, Cooper said that about that last block. But you also wonder too, as good as Zach Charbonnet has looked in this scheme so far, that exact same play executed that same way, Ken Walker, he might score.
Yeah. But if you go back, Dan, to that end zone view of that, if you go back to that play, the one thing I really want to kind of highlight on this is
right here.
They're running inside zone. And if you go back a little bit farther to the beginning of it, watch Jalen Sundell at center here. And this is something that we've talked about. This is something, and you can go back a little bit farther, you'll see it there, is his athletic ability. You watch him snap this ball and get to the second level and get hands right away on the MAC linebacker. As much as we talk about Bradford and that line sliding, this lane gets open because that MAC backer has now been pushed out of his run fit all the way to the other hash. That's where you see this lane. And now basically you have the two safeties have to come down from their too high shell to get into this run lane. And that's already going to be at least a 10-yard run because of that. And you see what Charbonnet does. He makes it 13.
You got AJ Barner here kicking out that outside linebacker. Yep. You got Robbie Utes 15 yards down the field taking on a safety. I mean, does anybody get a negative grade on this piece of film right here on this first play? This is perfectly executed.
The only thing I could say, if we wind back a little bit, there's one there, just a coaching point from me. Yeah. And as you watch this come through here, I think I want to say it may be Zabel, or it might not be. Somebody loses a block here. Oh, it's Abe Lucas on number. I can't even see. If you watch Abe Lucas drive, the guy's able to spin off.
He spins off of him there. Yeah.
If Abe Lucas controls that a little bit more, it might allow for, an even quicker burst through. And then again, the only other negative grade is Cooper Kupp not making his block downfield that may have sprung Charbonnet.
Yeah, he might have just not thought that he was going to need to. He's like, hey, he's watched the Seahawks on tape for the last couple of years too, right?
Yeah, they're not used to being that far downfield, not touched.
All right, so another 1st and 10 then on the 32 now, Charbonnet again.
And this is basically split zone. That's all they're running here. They're bringing Oots across and from the offset tight end spot there. They bring him across. He's designed to kick out. The thing, this again is really interesting about what I think, Kubiak's doing is they're using Robbie Oots in a way of his flexibility of tight end background. This is not a different personnel set. This is the same one we just saw. It's just now Oots is set as a motion or move tight end there. Now, the one thing I'll say here is Bradford, when he goes to pull, he gets caught up on somebody because he kind of gets hit, and that I think allows for a little bit more penetration than they were initially anticipating on this run.
Yeah, that flexibility with Oots is really terrific, and it's one of the mysteries on this roster is how Brady Russell is going to be handled when it comes to that position too. Another guy that can play fullback and tight end if there's going to be a spot for him. But love what we're seeing from that. We'll just watch this again from the end zone angle.
So that's what happens. So if you watch Sundell and Zabel here, if you watch it, I think from the top view, it might be a little bit easier. But Sundell on this particular play doesn't fire enough onto that one tech right there, zero tech almost, and he gets held up, which forces Zabel to get held up, which then Bradford gets clipped when he goes to pull, and that's why I think that goes from being maybe a 7-yard run to a 4-yard run. Is just that slight delay in the backfield, and you'll see it here a little bit clearer. Bradford goes to pull, he gets kind of held up there, bank, pop, and then that closes that hole like instantly, and Bradford can't really fire through as the puller.
Got another great block by Barner there too. Just does a great job controlling his guy. And the other thing that I'm seeing on these plays, and it just goes back to something I've been talking about for a few weeks. The advantage of being able to be out there and see almost every training camp practice from up close this year is the minutia that the coaching staff is teaching out there on a daily basis, and the hand usage of these guys and the way they fire their hands out and get them on the guys that they're blocking. We haven't seen that kind of technique before, and it's just it's textbook stuff. It's really encouraging to see. So that sets up a 2nd and 6 from the 36 now, and this is the first pass of the game.
Now, see, the one thing I'm going to point to on this, I know we're talking interior O-line, but the quarterback coach in me and the offensive coordinator in me is just loves this teaching of what they're doing with Sam Darnold. And that is everything is synced with his feet. You watch him get that snap, and he knows, where's my first read, move my feet to my second read, and then get to my check down, which is Barner here. But then when you watch this interior O-line here, and this is something to me that's really impressive, is there's a lot of talk that, can Sundell anchor as a center? Is he capable of doing it?
Mm-hmm.
I think there's more reason to believe that Sundell is capable of being a guy that can hold up in there. He's got a wrestler background. And I don't think there's going to be enough times where Seattle's truly going to get bull rushes from that spot. Now, I'm going to be honest here. That was one of my favorite plays from Anthony Bradford. And I thought it was on a Drew Lock drop, but I clearly am wrong. You watch Bradford here step down in his pass pro when he realizes, take 55, wait for Sundell, and then comes and peels back to the guy where when the meme was going last year, it was Bradford looking around, not being able to find anything in that Denver game. Now he's finding work, and you just watch him. They seal that A gap. Okay, Sundell's got him. Boom, I'm now turning and bang, just going to just flatten the guy from the side. I love that. And that's playing with some attitude. That's not being passive anymore.
I can't remember the play. I saw somebody posted a play almost exactly the same as that on Twitter today. And I can't remember the team and the other lineman that he was highlighting, but he was raving about like, wow, this shows you what a great player he is. And that was the first thing I thought when I saw it was we saw the exact same thing out of Anthony Bradford. He just looks like a different player.
What I'll say here that's interesting again is Zabel lunges a bit on this rep in his pass pro, and he gets beaten inside pretty quickly. He recovers really well, but he does get beaten. And I think, again, he's still got that rookiness to him a little bit, where at the beginning of the games, I think there's a little bit of the nerves, a little bit of the jitters. He's got to kind of overcome.
Wasn't it the first snap against the Raiders where he did the same thing? He lunged and he kind of whipped and got, Then he gets.
And if you go back and watch it, you'll see it again. Basically, Sundell leaves to go to the right side and kind of lunges a little bit and gets caught. So.
All right, so another 1st and 10 at the 43. Back to Charbonnet.
Toss. Love seeing toss. Another good, solid run.
So in the wide zone, I wanted to hit this before we kind of focus on the interior offensive line guys, though, because we saw this quite a bit. But tossing gives the running back more time to pick his lane, right? Gives him more time to get into that decision-making process.
A little bit. It gives him more time. It also gives the blocks more time to develop. So the thing about this toss here is you look at Saubert, he comes across, sets, you've got condensed splits in the west. You're basically in a bunch. And pulling Saubert and the O tackle, you have your receivers kind of come down and seal that edge. But now what you're allowing is Zach Charbonnet here to get to the edge quickly. And now you're forcing, okay, does Abe Lucas have his block? Does Saubert have his as the lead blockers? And now Charbonnet's really got a two-way go based on how these blocks set up for himself. And he can set them up by the way he runs.
And then the thing you see too, and I think this is why we're going to see so many explosive plays, and this offense is really designed in many ways to create those, is you see Sundell really sealing off his guy. They're still working at it, even though the play's behind him. And you can see Zabel coming over from his spot, looking for work at the second level, just in case they're able to pop this thing. Get as many bodies downfield as you possibly can.
Yeah, and the thing I like, even look at the very backside of this run, JSN. Something that we all talked about, can JSN, be an aggressive blocker. It's not something that's a strength of his game. We talked about it a lot last year, and he's blocking. Yeah. He's giving a guy a shove. I get it's backside, but there's still that mentality now with this team. We are going to run.
We rerouted him by 5 yards.
Yep, exactly. And see, the way this play is designed too, Dan, if Zach Charbonnet can get through that window, realistically, he has to beat the safety in the open field. And that's a matchup any offensive coordinator will take, is if he can get through 27's flow or 21's flowing over there, can he break down and make the tackle of Zach Charbonnet? And that's where I think what you're seeing here a little bit, again, is Jake Bobo doesn't get a good enough block. He would, for me on this, I'd give him a negative grade because he gets in there, but he doesn't make a good enough block to seal that edge.
The other thing that I think is fun to point out here, and something I've learned about wide zone watching all the teaching that was happening at camp this year is, some of the blocks that we focused on so far are reach blocks, seal blocks, guys really getting out of their stance and having to beat someone to a spot, real integral blocks in terms of creating the hole. And then there's the other aspect of the stretch plays, right? With the offensive line in what Abe Lucas does on this play in just using the guy's own momentum. And the guy's already running away from the play. And so he just gives him a little shove here and completely takes him out of the play.
Yeah. And so if
he
you
didn't have to
see
get
here,
in front of him, he didn't have to beat him to a spot.
Yeah. If you go back one more time, and this is where, again, the way that play was designed is beautiful. Watch Jake Bobo if you go from this angle here. So I wish we could telestrate it, but stop it right there. So Jake Bobo's whole objective here is to block 55 or 56, that lefty end.
Yeah.
And if he gets that block, you've got both Lucas and Saubert pulling. Derek Young is going to go inside and potentially pick on a Mac, or maybe he's going to take 13. But watch what happens if Jake Bobo, Giannis, doesn't get his block. And if he gets his block, look who makes the tackle.
Mm-hmm.
Jake's guy. That's a block you have to make. And Jake, I think, knows it. That's a key block in this scheme. And that's why we're talking about blocking receivers and how key that is for them. It's 4 plays like that.
It's great teaching tape just right out of the bat. We've seen two plays now. There was the Zabel one where the guy spun off of him too, where it's like, hey, don't ever assume that the guy's past you.
Exactly.
Second, third midfield, and Darnold.
You're in twins again.
I formation warms my heart.
Now that ball needs to be better from Sam Darnold. I'll just say that.
Yeah, it was a little low. And it was fun while I was editing this today, because watching it live, I remember thinking at the time, like, hey, took the check down. That's good on him. But you can see by the downfield blocking with Cooper and some of the other guys that this was the design of this play, wasn't it?
Yeah, to me, it's basically Cooper's running a runoff.
Reacting to what happened.
Yeah, he's running a runoff there and into a deep out. But like Charbonnet's your check down right there. And because they didn't react to the orbit motion, now that's why you get to it. Coop's running an outside breaking deep out, basically, like almost a sail. And you can see him there. He gets to about the 35 and he starts breaking outwards.
Yeah.
The key thing I like here is the pocket. Like, that is a pocket. Both tackles have washed their guys up the field. You've got solid interior protection. Like, they're stonewalling that in the 3-man rush inside. And now you've got the situation where a linebacker is stuck covering JSN, because this is the key thing. If you look at this defense, if you pull it up, Dan, to the beginning of the start of this play, what you'll see here is you actually have 3 true linebackers on the field. Because of the way this formation is designed with the fullback in there, you have a 4-3 kind of overlook in a way to the tight end side. So you got the DN basically just either head up or just outside shade of Saubert, but your linebackers are kind of overcorrected the other way to get that outside kind of look. The problem you've got here, though, is now you've got a linebacker that's going to inevitably have to cover JSN, which is the beauty of this design. Cup going deep. Now JSN comes back, you fake the play action. Now those linebackers get sucked in. And when you watch the interior of this offensive line here in Zabel and Sundell and Bradford, like, there isn't much of a push from this D-line that forces them to have to reset much in the pocket. See, that's the thing, that check step that all those linebackers had to take, because we can run the football.
And I know we're focusing on the 3 interior guys, but I just want to say, looking at this again, and maybe Sam was feeling the guy behind him a little bit, or it's early in the game. He's just trying to get a rhythm and he wants to get this rolling a little bit. But we saw it in the practice that we watched together, the 2 practices. I saw it a lot in Sam's timing and accuracy, especially on out routes of any depth, and just how this offense fits that skill set. And we'd see it a half dozen times in practice every day. He's got Cup here. Because the guy, the safety's got his back turned, and he can let that fly before Cup comes out of his break. And we saw him do that on a routine basis, and this could be a 20-yard gain. But you just wonder early in a game, maybe just kind of trying to get things rolling a little bit.
And what I would teach my quarterback here in some respect is when Cup's going to make that break, if you want to throw it to him, you're throwing him down and out so he can work back to the ball. You're not throwing it up the field where the safety's going to be or that corner.
Yeah.
But I love JSN's acting here. It looks the exact same as it did on the first play of the game.
Anthony Bradford, I know we've talked about this a ton, like run blocking. We like his ability to maul, but in pass protection, he's needed some work. And I know that the criticism of preseason football is always, hey, all the starters were out there. Chris Jones wasn't out there, right? And you're right. But 7 of their defensive starters were, including George Karlaftis was out there. And number 99, who he's blocking here, is Jerry Tillery, a guy that's been in the league for quite a while. He's a 310-pounder. He's a legit NFL talent. This isn't some, third-string undrafted free agent scrub. And he locked him down. He locked him down and then passed him off. I mean, this just seems like a different dude.
He does. He really does seem like a different dude. And it's good to see, like, he's got talent. So here's a gun outside zone. And again, you're seeing the push. You're seeing the push and the reestablishment of the line of scrimmage, which you weren't seeing last year.
Watch Bradford here. He kind of passes a guy off and then goes looking for another dude.
Well, and the key there is he holds up that. Yeah.
That's Zabel. Zabel ends up.
Zabel. Yeah, but if you watch him here, that right there, he gives a quick shove and lets Sundell get to his guy after snapping, and that's the key here. Your guards have to understand who the immediate threat is inside because they have to give the center the ability to snap that ball and then go. The center is on a half-second delay from snapping it or even a second delay from snapping to moving.
Mm-hmm.
So watch Sundell snap here and watch that one tech right over top of Bradford. He gives him enough of a shove to get Sundell there to get Sundell's hands, and then there you go.
We've seen him do that on a couple of occasions. But I just have to look at it one more time. I mean, this might be the worst rep Gray Zabel's shown us yet. Like, he just gets shoved on the ground. It's not a great look. I mean, it's, his momentum.
He trips over the D lineman, I think, and then kind of just off balance.
2nd and 4 from the 37. This is my favorite play of the game.
Oh, the Robbie Utes flat route. The Leonard Weaver, Max Strong.
I love the design. I love the way they run to the right, and Kansas City absolutely bites on it.
Well, and here's the thing I'll coach up right now. That looks like split zone to the defense, right? That's the same motion Utes did earlier when they ran split zone, and now they turned split zone into a boot. And that's the thing with this offense. Like, that looks to a defense that's reacting in seconds, not minutes, not being able to sit there and be like, oh, yeah, he's not. It's a second. So the minute Utes starts going across and it looks like a similar formation, they go, oh, yeah, it's split zone again. Watch 54, 43, and 48 and how they all respond to this. 27-2. Oh, crud. It's a pass.
They're all on the other side of the hatch.
Yeah. And that's what having an established running game and play action, proper play action, does for you. It makes them have to react to something first.
It was a great job bouncing back on that rep too from Zabel too. He just forget about the play before.
Yep.
And win your next rep.
This was my favorite play because we've been killed on this year in and year out by the Rams and 49ers. Boot. And your F or Y tight end underneath on that for 9 yards. And again, it looks like wide zone. Watch the linebackers. They all slide. Oh, crud.
Oh, we're going to see a lot of that roll stuff.
Mm-hmm. I want to challenge our listeners, Dan, to figure out what play diagram is on our show's cover thumbnail. It is a famous West Coast play. I will leave it at that.
Well, and I almost gave it away because that last one with a Royals route kind of looked similar. So obviously here, this is the touchdown run, second one. The Seas just part wide open. What makes this play work?
Saubert's block.
Oh, geez. I heard somebody was in your show earlier tonight asking about Saubert maybe not being on the 53, and it's
he will be.
He's so good.
He will be. He is gonna, I think, he'll be one of the best additions they made this year overall, and I think one of the best free agent signings they've had in 2 years. That block right there just flattens them, seals the backside. Another split zone kind of belly. So what it is you're kind of almost trapping in a way because you're getting the movement going to the right. Your back goes and then cuts back underneath, and you basically zone across, and then you kick out backside with Saubert. And so as for a D-line reacting, the whole entire offensive line is going to the right like it's outside zone, and this is the cutback lanes. And this play in particular should warm Seattle Seahawks fans' hearts because Marshawn was so good on this play. And Zach Miller or Luke Wilson was in Eric Saubert's role in those early Pete Carroll teams.
And there's a lot of responsibility on the running back's plate in this scheme. Like, he's got to feel things, he's got to see things, and he obviously does here. Like, he sees the block engaged right in front of him, but Saubert hasn't made contact yet. But he just feels where the hole is, dips his shoulder, and he's gone. He sees the daylight.
Yep.
Gorgeous play. So second drive, now Drew Lock's in the game. And now Zach Charbonne's out of the game. George Holani comes in. Doesn't matter. 30 yards. Another toss. They started with a toss on the first drive, didn't they?
No, they didn't. They ran it was later on in the first drive they ran the toss. But I will say this, Jalen Sundell makes this play.
Let's look at the other angle on this then. Is this the one where he gets the reach to the outside shoulder again? The tackle's slanting that way.
Well, that's the thing. He has to get and turn him.
Yeah.
So that guy is theoretically outside shade of Zabel, and he is shooting that gap. He has to turn him. He gets across his face even after snapping it without assistance from Gray Zabel. Sundell just basically snaps, and I'm going across your face.
This is run blocking porn, offensive line porn. This is Anthony Bradford porn. This is the kind of stuff that got me excited about him for a moment last preseason. I remember the Chargers game. There were quite a few reps like this on tape. He is so strong. Watch what he does here. He takes care of the first guy with one hand, and then he goes to his main target. Jerry Tillery, get out of my way. I'm going to go take care of this linebacker.
Well, and the key thing here,
and then he's still running. There he is. He's the first one to get to Holani.
Yeah, and if you go back, the key thing with this, and this is where you're starting to see the development of the coaching you're talking about, Dan, that you got to see in training camp this year when you were there, is with the zone, and I run a zone scheme myself. That end that is outside Abe Lucas there on the left side, that guy right there, he is actually blocked by the quarterback. And I know that we're not going to see Drew Lock turn and block this guy, but it's Lock's boot out after the pitch
takes him away.
That will freeze him. And that's what you want with the boot action, and why we're running boots now from under center is see how he has to slowly scrape down. He can't just turn and run.
No.
And so now he's delayed, which means Abe Lucas can really get to that D tackle that Bradford hit with one arm and allow Bradford now to climb to that backer off that double team.
First and 10 again, obviously at the 45, Holani again. Brady Russell with the crackback there. And Brady wanted more. It's fun watching these again a little deeper, and who you focus on each time changes a little bit.
But again, see, Sundell just washes. Like, he loses his block a little bit, but he washes that D tackle out of the way enough.
Yep.
Now, and this is the other thing I will say too, to the comparison between last year's run game to this year, or lack thereof run game. The reason running the football from under center and why this is such a lost art at the amateur level is because of the ball is instantly in your quarterback's hand and your center can go. When you're snapping with shotgun, there is more stress on the center, ensuring that because of the distance of travel, the accuracy and everything, that it actually holds them up sometimes a second longer, half a second longer to get to the zone block that they have to make. And that's why when you see this under center, Sundell can snap, the ball's out of my hand, it's now in my quarterbacks, and now I'm getting to my block right away.
God, there was something else on this play that I wanted to point out that I liked. Let's just watch it again in its entirety.
Bradford again, just driving guys across.
Oh, and again, we're talking about offensive linemen here, but I want to see Walker in this scheme. This is such a quick decision by Helani to cut it up and find this lane and against the grain. So many times last year, especially when Walker gets in trouble, if he doesn't see the lane right away, he bounces it further outside.
Yeah.
He'll reverse field sometimes, but he might try to climb and get outside Josh Jones there and get beat 90 to the outside sometimes. And that's just,
there's two things in there's two things in this scheme, Dan, that running backs have to have. They have to have a level of understanding landmarks and patience to see it develop and see where their landmark now moves. And then the quick decision of, I see the hole, I'm putting my foot in the ground, I'm getting north-south. There's no east-west. It's north-south. And that's why you look at what Denver did for so many years with the Mike Andersons and all the guys that followed Terrell Davis. It was get your foot in the ground and get north-south. CJ Anderson in that 2015 year with the, Gary Kubiak as the Broncos head coach, the same scheme. Get your foot in the ground, get north-south. And you look at Christian McCaffrey. We talk about the resurgence he's had in San Francisco. A lot of it has to do with the scheme. Get your foot in the ground and go north-south. And then once you get through the first wave, then you can start making your open field adjustment moves.
This is one of the rare. Well, we have a guy in motion though that's probably going to get set there. But this is I formation, but not a condensed formation, not 12 personnel. Mixing up the formations a little bit, and we're going to give it to Helani on 2nd and 4.
Yeah, you're in 21 personnel here. And again, you're going to get the first down. And Helani isn't getting touched till he's 5 yards downfield. And there's zone with the eye, and see what I love there is Brady Russell. Brady Russell saw that everyone, now where's my next guy? Where's my guy that I'm hitting? Yeah, and this is all about communication too.
Sundell climbs, he takes Tillery, he gives him a little chuck. He gets up to number 43. 43 ends up making the tackle here, but it's not that's a hustle play by the linebacker, in my opinion.
Yeah, Sundell gets kind of trapped up there on that. But the thing that's so key is you can count if they're going to run outside zone, the backside end most times will be left. And it's all about that initial double team to second level. That's key.
It's the one time
Sundell gets
a little bit.
Sundell he has trouble in this rep.
And now this is the thing that people are talking about today, because Mike McDonald hasn't definitively come out and said it's going to be Sundell or Oluwatimi. And so there's some question as to who we might see tomorrow. If it's Oluwatimi and Sundell doesn't play, I think we know who the starter at center is. But the Oluwatimi's advantage between the two is a little bit more stout. That's a word that John Schneider used in the post-draft press conference the day he was drafted. That his anchor might be a little bit better against stronger nose tackles, whereas Sundell, it's the athleticism, right? You mentioned the wrestling background. It's not like he struggles mightily with leverage, but there will be times where he may lose a rep more commonly than Olu does against this type of rush, and it impacts the play here. And he could have gotten called for a hold there. He grabbed the jersey a little bit. And now that I look at it from that angle, it wasn't so much that he got bowled. A little swim move, a little shake and bake.
He oversets a little because he's following where Zabel and that line looks like they're kind of almost in a half slide protection, which you sometimes see. And when they get into a half slide, you can't overset. And I think that's what you see Zabel do, because the backside of this, the right side, is straight up in pass pro, where it looks like the left side is half sliding a little bit. Yeah. Oh, wait a minute. Go back a bit, Dan. Let me see that again from the start, please. Sorry, my coaching brains. Okay, yeah. So what you're seeing is, again, you're seeing that over front. So the linebackers now off the line, but they've overset to one side with the D line. He basically, instead of coming on Josh Jones and bringing pressure, bails out to cover Saubert out in the flat, which then throws off. And again, this is where I think with Charles Cross in there's probably a bit of communication. Zabel and Jones have a bit of an issue out here on the outside where they're not sure who's actually taking him. And then Sundell still has issue with his block, but oversets, causing an issue. Because if that guy comes, everyone's a little bit more tight together. And you can see how this fans out a little bit wider if you play it through. Now, Zabel does a great job. But Jones somehow ends up on the ground, and that's a whole thing into itself. But Sundell does struggle on this route. More to an overset, not to a bull rush. And Drew Lock makes the right decision. He bails out and gets a couple of yards.
Yeah. Brings up another Helani run on 2nd and 6. And then the play after this is one of my favorite plays, too.
Another good gun outside zone.
See, this is what you and I have talked about this, but I think one thing that's pretty evident so far, even if you want to be a skeptic and say, okay, they're not going to average 6 yards a carry or 7 yards a carry like they did against Chiefs, against everyone. And granted, but I feel like the floor is much different this year. Whereas last year and in the past several years, the floor was a 5-yard loss.
Agreed.
It feels like 2-3 yards is kind of like you can almost always expect. There's going to be more of that. The 3rd and 10s. I think at one point last year, I think they led the league in average down to go on 3rd down. It was close to 9 yards. It was a ridiculous number. I don't think we're going to see that again. Even on their worst days. Now, is that so more so maybe than any play we've seen to this point? This looks a lot less deceptive to me. Like they're handing the ball off, and that's the way the line's going. That's the way that's where the play is intended. Are these types of plays in this offense part of the deception in a way? Because
a little bit
off guard, like you can't catch on to us, and you can't start reacting anytime we're slanting to the left and start cheating to the right, because sometimes we're just going to follow those guys.
The thing too with this, if you go back and you watch Marves or MVS's motion here, what I think you could eventually see is the development of this is he goes across. So you'll watch him go across here. Now Torrey Horton
zone, right?
Yeah, and I think what you could see is Torrey Horton there got a little caught off guard because he took a pretty good shot initially off the line of scrimmage.
Okay.
You might see a slant bubble kind of concept there where Drew Lock may be looking at it and be like, oh, do I have the numbers to throw this quickly or not? And there might be a call in that for that.
Okay. Now, this one I really like. Well, after we see the end zone on this. Because it's been a long time since we've been not just able to, but willing to run the football on 3rd and more than 1.
Yep.
3rd and 2, run the football, 3 yards, 1st down. Doesn't look pretty, moves the chains. What does this look like from the inside guys here?
Double team. Now, see, that's where Sundell gets caught chasing a little bit.
How many?
He initially, so if you watch the play a little bit.
So Bobo gets
tossed. So he gets there to 92 with Bradford, and then his initial thing is to go to 54. But the thing here with Sundell is he's got to get his eyes up and see who's the immediate threat.
That's what I was just going to add.
Because
his head's too low, right?
Yeah, it is too low. And that leaves him to now I'm going to jump to 54, even though he could have realistically potentially peeled back. But you see how Zabel has his head up? Zabel's able to get to, and Zabel probably, again, my biggest critique here is not enough from the guy joining the double team.
Okay.
So like Sundell should have been able to get off his block earlier and get to 54. Zabel should have been able to get off his block because Jones should have been able to command the guy he had to allow Zabel to get across to 43, and that probably goes for a bit more.
I don't want to criticize Zabel too much, though, because this is my favorite part of the play. He's like, I'll take one guy. I'll take you too.
Yeah. No, agreed.
And literally blocking 56 and 43 at one point with both arms.
And that's why I wish, he was able to fully get off and drive 43 because he probably would have just pancaked him.
First 10 Kansas City, first carry for Damian Martinez in this play, and it works out pretty well.
Oh, yeah. That's just, again, it's zone. It's twins. It's zone. It's run it right down their throat. Bradford gets out on 43 and just hits him, and he just shoves him. He's gone. That's the thing with Bradford. If he hits you,
Martinez instead of taking a slight little slide step outside and trying to hit a home run with this thing, he goes looking for contact. What were we saying about Bradford?
Well, it's just great about Bradford here because you watch him, he gets out there and he hits for the linebacker, and then he knocks him flying. 1, 2. He's just, you're gone. Get out of the screen. You're not here anymore. See you later. I'm just going to clear you out.
Back to Martinez, first play of the second quarter. This one gets
that's the first time this line struggled.
So where do we get here?
It's right there. There's a misassignment by either Bradford or Sundell on who's taking the linebacker because he's left way too easily untouched and he just fills the run lane.
Now, could this be, because this is something I wanted to talk about a little bit here too. So last year, we saw a lot of this. We saw Geno in shotgun, of course, come out, take a lot of the play clock, move guys around, direct, change play sometimes, whatever. Because Ryan Grubb put protections on his plate. Clint Kubiak has the center calling protections, right? Is this a miss in the call?
It might be a miss in the blocking call. Yes, it might be a judgment by Sundell on what front he's looking at or who's supposed to go to who.
Could you have Russell over? Would that have been the move? Let's see. What does he do on this play?
Russell's ceiling backside. He's not leading through the hole. This should have somehow, I think. Again, I'm not privy to the information, unfortunately, but
sometimes it's just the right call by the defense.
Yeah, and that's, I think, part of this too. The defenses of adjustment here, and I think 50 almost doesn't go far enough, or 58 doesn't go far enough, and it causes him to be in the right spot at the right time.
Because he makes a subtle little change. He sees what's going on here, and he just kind of hops right into the right there. Just kind of goes inside his DT a little bit. He's right there. I mean, we're 17 plays into the game, and that's the first real fail. Second 9 at the 12. Touchdown to Bobo.
I love the fact we can run screens again.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and Sundell was trying to get out there looking for work at the second level. Didn't find anyone, but didn't need to. Let's just watch Jake Bobo score again because this is cool. You like my little referee guy there?
I love the referee guy being in there.
I need a sound effect, though. A little,
But see, again, this is where, like, just an effective screen and athletic O-line help you. because they're able to get out there. Like Zabel and all of them are able to get out there and get a hat on a hat.
So a couple things. Who should start at center?
Oh, put me on the spot. Why don't you, Dan? I think Jalen Sundell should start at center.
Because?
For this scheme and what you want, like I know people are talking about Olu's a really smart center, and I completely understand that, but I don't think we've ever said Jalen Sundell's not a smart center either. And I think you see the chemistry with him and Gray Zabel, and I think the athleticism screams off the page here. Like there's certain blocks I think he is making because of his athletic ability that I don't know Olu's going to make. And I'm okay with us maybe in the situation of everyone saying where he doesn't have the same anchor as Olu for bull rushes. We're also not going to be a straight drop back team dealing with bull rushes all that frequently because of the movement of the pocket, the play action, the wide zone. The line is constantly in some sort of movement state. They're not really sitting there catching like they were last year. So I think Jalen Sundell, and I think we'll find out very quickly in the Green Bay game who the center is.
I think that's a great point, because if you were to tell me that a center struggled consistently with power, well, then I would say don't let him play in a Ryan Grubb offense. When you're just left out there, 5-man protection, shotgun every time, like that's the defense knows what's coming. But also, it's not that he can't. Right, to your point about the wrestling background, and we saw him in some of those plays gain leverage and set his base. I do think he's the better scheme fit slightly. I do like Oluwatimi, and if they surprise us and name him the starter, I'm okay with that because I trust John Benton and I trust that staff. And Olu has shown that he can do a lot of those things too. Maybe he doesn't get to the second level quite as quickly, but he's just as quick coming out of his snap under center to get to some of those reach blocks and stuff, surprisingly so, because his body just looks a little bit different. And then, the chemistry with Zabel's interesting because near as I could tell with my research, they only played about 70 snaps ever together with Sundell at center and Zabel at left guard, because left guard was one spot that he played the least of kind of at NDSU. And then my next question would be this, because I think we all expect Anthony Bradford to be named the starter at right guard. I don't think there's any other options there, really. Is Anthony Bradford good?
Yes.
I mean, that's what we're talking about here, right?
Anthony Bradford, I think, can be an average to maybe above average NFL guard.
I remember now that clip that someone showed. It was Trey Smith.
Oh, there you go.
You see Trey Smith like reps on tape from Anthony Bradford at his size, moving like he does.
I think Anthony Bradford really got the message, and I think as scary as it is to Seahawk fans that Anthony Bradford's gonna be the right guard, and they all have that meme stuck in their head. I think you're gonna see a different Anthony Bradford in this system. I think you're gonna look at the end of the year and go, "Wow, like Anthony Bradford was the right choice there. Like he made a difference being as good of a run blocker as he is in this scheme. And the fact that this pocket won't be in the same spot every single time they go to throw is going to give these guys an advantage across the board, not just Anthony Bradford."
And I would say two things to fans that are still concerned about that spot. One is, allow yourself to believe that he could be a good player, because everyone develops on their own timeline. He was very young. I think he's just now turning the age that Christian Haynes was when we drafted him. And so just allow yourself to consider the possibility that he could be really good. And if he is, okay, well, then you have a guy with 1 year left on his rookie deal who's making 4th round money, who's 335 pounds and can move people and can run this scheme. And then to the other portion of the fan base that will say, well, then we wasted the 81st pick in the draft last year on Christian Haynes. We whiffed on that. That was a miss. You can't let that happen. You can't miss on 3rd round picks. Okay. Well, you hit on a 4th round pick. I mean, that's what we're talking about here, right? If you missed on the 3rd for Christian Haynes, it means you hit on a 4th for Anthony Bradford. It's a lot of good stuff. Where do you stand, since we're talking about interior offensive line, before we wrap this up, about the possibility of Dalton Reisner potentially coming in? We don't know if he's been here yet, but he was reported to be scheduled for a visit with Seattle.
If they view that they need that depth and they view him as a viable piece, I'm not going to argue with John Benton after what they've certainly done so far this training camp. It'll be interesting because that means they clearly don't like either Mason Richmond, Satawa Lamea, Bryce Cable as viable options to be really a backup guard. And I don't know if that's the case. Part of me wonders if there's maybe not something in the works where they might be trading a certain other guard that we talked about in Christian Haynes, where we say it was a waste of a pick, and they bring in Dalton Reisner because he may fit the scheme better. I think they really like Cable in Richmond, and that's what I've seen. And even the film also justifies that both have played really well. I think Lamea is really on the roster bubble. I really do. And he has really struggled, in my opinion, throughout this preseason.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there, but the last practice I attended late last week, he was running on the third team, and Richmond Cable was second string left guard, and then Haynes was second string right guard, and so that bumped him all the way down to the third team. Guy that started 6 games last year. But yeah, I'm if Reisner doesn't have a starting spot out there. And I think the biggest competition probably is Cincinnati, because like they have interior offensive line issues. They've drafted some dudes, but they've had a rough preseason when it comes to that. And, they got to fix that with as much money as they have tied up in their skill positions and their quarterback. And but if he doesn't have a guaranteed starting spot somewhere and he's willing to come in here without any promise of one, I think it's a no-brainer. Because he can play both positions. He hasn't played right. Last year was the first year he played right guard in the league. He's been primarily a left guard. He's not going to be needed there unless there's an injury, right? But yeah, maybe that's it. They just don't have the confidence any of those other guys can be counted on in the event that Zabel or Bradford were to go down. Now, maybe if Sundell's the starting center, we know late last season, Oluwatimi was starting to get cross-trained as a guard a little bit. I don't think it's ideal. I think he's a little cut off and shorter. I think they want longer guys there, but could give you some flexibility. We'll find out in the next 24 hours, I think, because we'll know I think he's going to announce it after the game, don't you? Like, even if we can't figure it out based on what happens during the game, he said he'll name it and he keeps pushing it off and he'll speak after the game tomorrow. And I think, or is he going to tell us they have to watch the film first?
He might say that. I think the thing for me is who's center for the first snap.
See, it wouldn't surprise me. He says the starters aren't going to play, but what if that very first drive, the starting offensive line goes out there? I don't know, man.
I think they all come out together. If Sundell goes out there and that whole group plays the first drive, and then they all come out together, I think that's going to be there's your announcement.
Or if they don't play at all, and it's Olu at center and it's Haynes at right guard. So, okay, cool, man. This is fun. So just as a reminder, if you're watching this for the first time, this is going to be on both of our channels. Bryce's channel has been rebranded. Get over there and subscribe to it. It's a new YouTube channel. It's called The Hawks Eye. And he's not going to be on the Hawks Zone anymore. Go to his channel and check that out. Did a little announcement earlier today if you want all of the details. But it will be to my YouTube members and Patreon members. However, if I upload this and it doesn't get struck for copyright reasons, it's simply demonetized, then I will offer this up for everyone to watch. I'll make it free for everybody just to kind of get an introduction into what we're going to do. And it'll be every Friday. That'll be the goal. Sometimes things might get in the way, but it'll be, we even thought about calling it Friday film study or something like that, but we didn't want to tie ourselves into that. So it's the Hawks Film Lab. I like it.
I like it too. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. On your new channel, you're going to be reacting to the game afterwards tomorrow?
I hope to. Potentially it might be on Sunday that reaction comes out. It'll be a live reaction there. So get over there to the Hawks Eye podcast. That's where it'll be. On top of that, there'll be a couple things coming out this week. I have a show with Jeff Simmons that I recorded, which will be one of the first recorded shows that'll go on there. And we kind of touch on everything. The first time I've had a chance to actually talk to Jeff as a fellow Canadian Seahawk fan. So it was a lot of fun. And then we'll start going through. And then we got our show, Dan, on Wednesday. Live is the Seahawks Syndicate show, which will be a lot of fun.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. It's you, me, Mookie Alexander, and Brandon Kane of the Hawks Nest. That'll be the final Wednesday of every month, kind of going back over the last month. This one, of course, will be breaking down the roster moves. As that deadline is Wednesday, we should know everything by then, thanks to the agents. They're usually pretty good about leaking that stuff out and letting us know. And so that'll be this Wednesday on all of our channels. So wherever you prefer, you can check that out there. Someday, if you and Jeff Simmons ever start a Seahawks podcast together, you have to call it the Great Blue North. And on that note, I should have had this ready, damn it. On that note, wait a minute. Oh, here it is. Come on, music. Technical difficulties. There we go. All right, good to see you, Bryce. We'll see you guys back here next week, and we'll be talking about the some aspect of the Green Bay game on all 22 tape on Hawks Foam Lab. Until then, forever and always, go Hawks.
Go Hawks.